Hello again, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this Monday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. Up first here, some low temperatures around the central northern interior today. You can see, for example, Bettle's down to 13 degrees, 9 Anaktuvuk Pass. Milder up here along the Arctic coast next to the open water there with lower 30s, but upper 20s on the east side. And we had, let's see, Nome checked in with 31 for an overnight low. Of course, they're above that now, the wind and warmer temperatures, rain falling there this afternoon. And lower to mid-20s here over the eastern interior, but Tok was down to 19, while McGrath saw 30 degrees. On the hazardous weather graphic, we've got winter storm warnings here for the upper Kobuk and Noatak Valley areas, especially up toward the Brooks Range above 2,000 feet, looking for anywhere from 4 to 8 inches of snow in that area. That's from 6 p.m. tonight to 6 p.m. tomorrow evening for 24 hours. And then for the eastern warning area here, that's also from 6 p.m. this evening to 6 p.m. tomorrow night. And for the same conditions there as well, looking for, again, higher elevations. So it'd be up toward the Brooks Range there, because you see anywhere from 4 to 8 inches of snow over the next 24 hours. And then winter weather advisory there for the Koyukuk Valley, and that's for also for snow, but not as heavy as the other areas here, just in that 4 to 7 inch range or 3 to 5 inch range or so. And that extends down into the Middle Tanana Valley areas. And then Fairbanks, looking for 2 to 4 inches of snow there, and that's for the area, let's see, it was east of Fox, or east of Esther and south of Fox. 2 to 4 inches of snow in the lower valleys, and maybe some higher amounts higher up. And then the Alaska Range, winter weather advisory out. And that one's from 6 a.m. Tuesday morning to 6 p.m. Tuesday evening, and looking for 4 to 7 inches of snow and winds to go along with that, gusting to 55 miles per hour. So some of that could be drifting and blowing around a little bit through the higher passes. Moving on to satellite imagery, you can see cirrus here spreading into the central interior from the front that's farther back out here to the west, and also into northern Cook Inlet, seeing the high wispy cirrus type clouds coming in this afternoon from the west-northwest, and then some clouds with showers here exiting into Canada as everything kind of flows from west to east here over the top of a ridge of high pressure. That's actually, the ridge is actually right in over central Alaska today, and that'll be gradually shifting off. Northwest flow here, showers tapering off, conditions drying out here over the southeast coast. You can see the showers, especially over the southern areas, lingering into the afternoon, but that whole mess shifting off to the southeast, followed by cooler and drier conditions in that area. And then we had a band of light snow falling along the eastern and central Arctic coast, heaviest over toward Kaktovik, but even those amounts weren't too heavy. And also the precipitation with this front, not quite as heavy as what I thought it was going to be. Only 0.06 of an inch fell at Adak in the last 24 hours here. And really the heaviest amount I saw was about roughly 1/4 of an inch falling at Nome in the last 12 hours, and 1/3 of an inch up at Tin City. Otherwise, everywhere else had less than 1/10 of an inch. But winds, on the other hand, were a little more impressive than the precipitation amounts here, with winds gusting as high as 60 miles per hour at Tin City through the Bering Strait there. Here as that front edges eastward this afternoon. Nome seeing gusts to 40 miles an hour or so, and 32, 40-ish miles an hour along the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta coast, and 30 to 35 miles an hour over the inland areas here. And again, areas of light rain really become light as you get down into this weak trailing edge of the front, dragging across the central Aleutians here. And maybe some light rain or sprinkles might show up at Nikolsky here toward the end of the day today. Otherwise, high pressure built in at the surface here right over the central and eastern interior of the state. Sunny conditions today, mostly sunny. And also looks like the upper Yukon Valley are pretty nice. There's that trough with the area of light snow with it extending from the central coast here eastward. Heaviest amounts, which were again quite light, over the eastern Arctic coast. And it looks like some clearing on the west side there. Some snow today, maybe 1/2 inch fell at Northway. There, I didn't really see, but it looked like some areas had maybe 5/100 or 1/10 of an inch in an isolated area there right around Tok and Northway. Otherwise, clearing out over the Copper River Basin. Northeast wind flow, north to northeast, drying it out over the northern panhandle. Showers still lingering, but should end here shortly over the southern southeast coast as this trough continues to drop off to the southeast and the whole ridge axis moves eastward. We'll see tonight that surface high takes a pretty good jog to the east here over the Yukon now, and that's going to make for light winds and clear skies over the panhandle. So probably a lot of areas will drop into the 20s tonight there. And as this system pushes in on a 120 knot southwest jet we've got coming across the Bering Sea, that's going to again bring moisture into the interior, especially along that warm front, and then the weak trailing front or weakening front here trailing back with just some areas of light rain with it from the southwest coast down into the eastern Aleutian areas, spreading into the western Alaska Peninsula late, and then a couple of troughs rotating around this low center that's still up there over the Russian Far East. Probably will swing some shower activity in toward the Pribilofs late tonight. Otherwise, not too bad of an evening once that front goes through. And then that trough spreads showers into the Pribilofs with west winds maybe gusting 20 to 30 miles an hour. This front continues to push northeastward, looking at mixed precipitation, changing toward rain, especially south of the warm front here from the central interior all the way down into Bristol Bay. I wouldn't look for heavy rainfall amounts of this at all by any means, but look for some light rain to begin to try to push actually into Cook Inlet late tomorrow afternoon. And in the meantime, showers will tend to develop here over the Chugach Mountains, North Gulf Coast range into the Wrangels, and even the southern Kenai Peninsula. Starting out clear, Kodiak Island, and then thickening clouds throughout the afternoon, chance of rain on the southwest coast by late afternoon. And clouds on the increase here over the northern panel, but stays partly to mostly sunny down to the south. And for Wednesday, low pressure tracking in towards southern Cook Inlet and southwest flow. Could be some areas of moderate rain developing here along the North Gulf Coast, southern Kenai Peninsula. Light rain increasing, light rain chances increasing over the northern panhandle throughout the day and afternoon on Wednesday. Southern areas staying partly sunny. Areas of light snow and snow showers with this low center and trough complex here back to the northwest and along the western Arctic coast. Another shot of cold air coming down, so behind this trough, definitely snowfall levels probably coming back down to sea level. Otherwise, showers, Alaska Peninsula and Bristol Bay. High pressure rebuilding out here over the Aleutians. Lows tomorrow morning in the mid-20s, and then followed by highs in the 30s, followed by lows once again in the 20s, but milder, and then highs will be on Wednesday in the upper 40s, lower 50s over the panhandle, and 30s and 40s over the interior.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
First line weather graphic for Tuesday morning. VFR, southeast coast, North Gulf Coast, and to the western Alaska range here. You can see some marginal VFR now spilling south of the mountains, maybe in the northern Susitna Valley. But upper Tanana Valley, 40-mile country to Eagle stays VFR across the Copper River Basin also, and IFR pushing inland with a good southwest jet here, right up and along the south slopes of the Brooks Range, back all the way to the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula. St. Lawrence Island, IFR, marginal VFR for much of the Arctic coast. Eastern North Slope looks VFR and marginal with some VFR out west here over the Bering Sea. And for the afternoon, not much change out here over the Aleutians and Bering with a swath of VFR for Adak and Atka up to the Pribilof Islands, and then a narrow band with that front as it edges eastward here begins to weaken. Narrow band of IFR, Alaska Peninsula up in across Dillingham, just west of King Salmon, and western Cook Inlet, right along the Alaska Range, eastern Kuskokwim Valley, and a big area of IFR here along and south of the Brooks Range, as well as the central western Arctic coast, marginal for the North Slope. VFR hanging on here, upper Tanana Valley areas from say Nebezna up to possibly Eagle, and stays VFR for the southeast coast. Now moving ahead to Wednesday morning, Panhandle stays VFR with marginal VFR beginning to creep in closer, but IFR over the central and northwest part of the state, Arctic coast becoming marginal for the eastern North Slope, and marginal or IFR pretty much a zone here coming southward, kind of a break right in this area around the Barren Islands, Fognak Island, but marginal VFR back to the west for most of the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. And in the afternoon, again, not much change out here, although an increase in the IFR way out west with the next system, a little bit of a break just east of that. Otherwise, looking pretty marginal here for the Bering Sea, as well as much of the southern interior. Also, some IFR here. Looks like the Talkeetnas, northwest Prince William Sound, across the Talkeetnas up to the Alaska Range there, Denali Highway Zone. And that becomes more widespread up here from the Kotzebue area, Selawik, Kobuk, Koyukuk, and Upper Yukon valleys to the Brooks Range. And then a band scoots up across the north slope there, kind of a narrow band here, catching Onuixit, Prudhoe Bay, Dead Horse areas. And also here, Gulf of Alaska from eastern Kodiak Island, IFR, Prince William Sound, North Gulf Coast. And the Panhandle looks kind of marginal with maybe a little bit of VFR. Passes, Hanatuvik, marginal VFR, same forecast for Radigan as marginal VFR conditions tomorrow. Lake Clark and Merrill, IFR. Windy, occasionally IFR. I think Lake Clark and Merrill will be more in the deeper into the IFR than Rainy will. Windy, though, looks pretty marginal throughout the day at times tomorrow. Same thing for Isabel, marginal VFR. Not solid through the day, but at times. And for Mentasta, starting out marginal and then becoming VFR. Some dry air slips up from the south there ahead of that frontal boundary. And then some for Tanita, optimistically, I think it's going to be due to the wind flow, and it looks like it could be VFR throughout the entire day, hopefully. And for Portage, starting out VFR, becoming marginal, and looks like possibly the lowest conditions maybe on the western entrance, but downward trend throughout the day here for Portage Pass, Chilkoot, another VFR day. Freezing levels here, we're kind of rising a little bit, or trying to. Still 2,000 feet, kind of actually comes back north a little bit into the northern Cook Inlet area. 6 to 10,000 feet there, reaching Sitkinak, and 2,000 feet way up here, all the way into the Chukchi Sea, as well as there over the central Aleutians. Icing front and moisture pushing eastward, so narrow band of considerable moderate rime icing here along it in France of that front, above about 5,000 feet, higher to the south, lower to the north. And taking a look at jet stream, good jet here, that upper low tracking slowly northeastward, 120 knot jet pushing the front and moisture in, ridge shifting eastward, 9,000 feet, 25 to 35 knot winds from the southwest, 25 to 30, a little lighter there for the 3,000 foot winds, and 10 to 15 into the Panhandle. Taking a look at turbulence, considerable moderate chop here below 5,000 feet from the Yukon Delta coast right on up across the Seward Peninsula. Cape Lisburne, Point Hope, maybe Kivalina. Smooth here to the east and a little bumpy out over the western Aleutians.
It used to be that you could only warn one person about a tornado after it had already blown down someone else's barn.
Now, on average, we're able to issue a tornado warning 15 minutes before the tornado's even there, and that wouldn't be happening without Doppler radar.
This NexRad system has reduced fatalities on the order of 45% due to tornadoes since its advent.
We have a lot more information now about storms and being able to understand how they develop, how they produce severe weather, and how that information might be used to improve warnings for our National Weather Service partners.
The lab is unique in that we serve the nation by supporting the National Weather Service in its mission to protect lives and safe property by improving the accuracy and the lead time of severe weather warnings.
We have a legacy of radar research and converting existing technology from military to weather purposes.
A recycled Doppler radar led to the development of NexRad, installed nationwide in the early 90s. It allowed forecasters to see storms like never before.
Not only did we help bring that technology to the National Weather Service and to help protect lives and property, but we have continued to upgrade that technology, keep it relevant, and keep it state-of-the-art.
Recently, a major upgrade was added. Dual polarization technology takes the radar from 2D to 3D. Forecasters now know more about what type of precipitation is falling, which is very helpful during winter storms, as well as how much rain is accumulating, resulting in better flash flood warnings. The radar can also detect and track tornadoes based on debris. Looking to the future, the National Severe Storms Lab is testing the capabilities of phased array radar. Originally used by the U.S. Navy, the antenna scans the skies electronically rather than mechanically, allowing the radar to focus on a storm.
With current technology, we get a full picture or image of what is going on within a storm every 4 to 5 minutes. So it's more like a snapshot. Whereas with phased array radar, we get that picture of what's going on in the storm every minute. So it becomes more like watching a movie. So we can do adaptive, rapid scanning on the storms that matter most, being able to provide the information that's most relevant when and where it's happening.
Another advantage of phased array radar is its multifunction capability, providing weather and air traffic information simultaneously.
Number one, it is a system that promises to replace and expand upon the existing weather surveillance radars. Secondly, to replace aging air traffic surveillance radars. And number three, it offers a potential application to meet Department of Homeland Security and defense requirements for identifying and tracking non-cooperative aircraft. With the replacement of all these various radars with a single system, the American taxpayer could realize substantial savings in cost.
You have a lot fewer radars to maintain, and the electronic capability of this also reduces maintenance costs because you do not have moving parts.
Not too long ago, the ability to predict severe weather was thought to be impossible. During the past several decades, research conducted at the National Severe Storms Lab has developed life-saving tools like Doppler radar. We've progressed from no warning of threatening weather to about a 15-minute lead time, and current research promises to extend that much further.
Our knowledge of severe storms and how they behave, and our use and ability to use the Doppler radar technology is in a lot of cases a direct result of that close working relationship, that research to operations component that we get between the National Severe Storms Laboratory and a forecast office.
That history and understanding of how these data can be used by our users and doing the research to help advance the use of radar technology, really it's what we live for, it's in our lifeblood, it's in our history.
It's now easier than ever to be a part of weather research. We just launched the mPing app for both iPhone and Android users, and it's totally free. PING, which stands for Precipitation Identification Near the Ground, is a research project by the NOAA National Severe Storms Lab and the University of Oklahoma. With the mobile app, you can send us your weather observations on the go. Are snowflakes falling on your head? Is hail hitting your car? Just select what type of precipitation is falling and press submit. It's that easy. It takes about 5 seconds and it's anonymous. Reports can then be viewed online. Our scientists will compare your report with what the radar has detected. This helps us develop new radar technologies and techniques. Download the app today, share your reports, and let's work together to make our nation weather ready. Learn more here and follow us.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Sea ice analysis. It is growing up here along the outer ice edge, slowly growing, and it looks like probably in the next week or another week or so, 5 to 7 days, we'll start to see some ice develop here south of the Barrier Islands along the eastern Beaufort Sea coast. And for the coastal water forecasts, not bad here, north to northwest 15 to 20 knots on the south coast, and east 10 on extreme north coast, otherwise northwest 15, seas 4 to 5 feet, and then south coast 8 to 9 feet. Northwest 15 for Clarence Strait, central northern inside waters, south at 15 with 3-foot seas. For Wednesday, south to southwest here, 15 knots on the north coast, southwest 10 to 15 on the south coast with 5-foot seas, south 20 for Lynn Canal, seas running 4 feet there. Stevens Passage, southerlies at 15 and just 10-knot winds from the south for Clarence Strait. Prince William Sound, look for east winds at 15 knots tomorrow. Otherwise, the North Gulf Coast, light southwest wind at 15, 3 to 6-foot seas. Barren Islands, southwest at 20, and small craft advisories in the forecast here for Kamishak Bay, southeast 25, Cook Inlet, south 20 knots. Outlook for Wednesday, south to southwest 20 knots, really not a big change for Cook Inlet. West 20 for Kamishak Bay, southwest 20 for the Barren Islands, and southerlies at 20 knots for the North Gulf Coast. Prince William Sound, southeast 15, seas 3 feet. Kodiak Island, Shelikof Strait, 25 knot southwest winds tomorrow for small craft advisories there, otherwise southwest 20 on those eastern marine zones. Sitkinak to Castle Cape, southwest 25, and the Alaska Peninsula here, southerlies 20 to 25 knots with small craft advisories from Cape Sarachev all the way up across Bristol Bay. Seas running 7 to 8 feet there. And then for Wednesday, Bristol Bay comes down, turns westerly and diminishes to 15 knots. And west-southwest 20 knots for Kodiak Island, Sitkinak to Castle Cape, west at 20, west-northwest 20 here for the Alaska Peninsula. Fox Islands, northwest, 20 knots tomorrow, seas 6 to 11 feet. Adak and Atka, west-northwest at 15 to 20 knots, seas 7 to as high as 11 feet north of the islands. And then 20-knot winds extend all the way back to Shimianatu with seas running 11 to 12 feet. And then for the day on Wednesday in the afternoon, west of Kiska Island, particularly for the 2 islands way out there, Shimianatu, southerlies come into the picture, gale force southerlies at 40 knots. Otherwise, lighter winds here at 20 knots to the east, Adak and Atka, west-northwest at 20, and west-northwest 20 knots also for the Fox Islands. And the southwest coast, small craft advisories tomorrow. Southwest winds 25 to 30 knots, strongest north of Nunivak Island along the Yukon Delta coast. Otherwise, the Pribilofs west 25, 13-foot seas, 19-foot seas with 30-knot winds here for the St. Matthew Island zone, and southerlies 30 knots for St. Lawrence Island. Those will turn northwest and come down to 25 knots there for St. Lawrence Island. Northwest 20 here along the southwest coast, and small craft advisories both for St. Matthew, St. Paul, and St. George Islands with seas 11 feet. Eastern Beaufort Sea coast tomorrow, south to southeast on the light side just 10 knots. East 15, central coast increased to 20 knots here along the western coast, and then 15 to 20 knot southerly winds from Cape Beaufort to Wales. And the outlook for Wednesday, kind of a pretty good increase in the winds here from the north, from Cape Beaufort right on down to the Bering Strait there at 30 knots with seas running 7 to 8 feet, north 20 here for the western Arctic coast, the central coast northwest at 15, and then getting a little more variable, we'll say for the east central coast there, northeast at 15 with 3-foot seas, and then far over toward demarcation point, west at 15. And for tonight again, we got moisture spreading in, so rain and snow, looking for the snowfall amounts above 2,000 feet here. And but it looks like 4 to 7 inches of snow will end up into the Fairbanks area. Let's see, east of Esther and south of Fox, with probably some heavier amounts, but again at the higher elevations. And then a trailing area light rain extending southwestward along the frontal boundary here right into the Fox Islands. Some of that will spread in the Alaska Peninsula, but amounts won't be too heavy. Winds won't be too strong. High pressure, light winds, mostly clear skies over the Panhandle. And for tomorrow, that front pushes eastward here, a mixture of precipitation along the triple point of this system. Snow to the north, rain to the south, light in both cases. And then for Wednesday, Rain, pretty good chance of North Gulf Coast, increasing chances of rain for the Panhandle in the afternoon in the north.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.